master the business of speaking with your hosts, Taylor and Austin. You're listening to Technically Speaking.
Welcome to another episode of Technically Speaking. We're your hosts, Taylor and Austin, and today we are talking with one of the legends in the MC game, Mr. Jeff Civilico. Now, today we are talking about how to provide massive impact as an MC and a keynote speaker. Yes, I said both, if you can believe it. And if you're on stage at all, you need this episode. Jeff has headlined in Vegas for the better part of 2 decades. And with that entertainment experience came mastering the craft of moving and deeply engaging with an audience. Now, in this episode, we're unpacking how to provide massive value as an MC or a keynote speaker and how you can become a vital role in the planning of an event. Jeff shares his best tactics and strategies with us as we chat about how to build that value. As always, stick around until the end for some awesome resources, and we hope you enjoy this one. All right, and we are live. Jeff, man, welcome to the show. We are so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much, Taylor, Austin. Great to be here with you fellas. I saw you at NSA in passing, but I was a little busy, so I didn't have the time to stop and chat. So I'm really glad we have this opportunity now.
Yeah, you had a lot going on. Very impressive that you're able to keep that whole thing together. There's some wild people in that group. So
thank you. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, no, it was crazy for everybody. I mean, the tech team deserves so much credit because this was pretty much everybody's first hybrid event in a room full of people who are probably going to be doing hybrid events all the time, right from now on, and we were all just kind of figuring it out together. So I can't imagine being on the tech side of that, making sure everything sounds good, looks good in the room, on the stream, dealing with chat, throwing up integrations up on the slides, switching feeds. That's next level stuff. So Video West, the tech team, was awesome. And honestly, all the people involved, NSA side, Eliz Green coordinating the 3 MCs, myself, Patty, and Ome Congo, she did such a great job of keeping it all organized. We all knew exactly what our roles were and what we needed to do to pull it off. So thanks for noticing. It was tricky.
For sure. If you're one of the organizers of that event listening to this, kudos to you from the 3 of us.
Absolutely.
So yeah, Jeff, we like to do a little bit of digging before we get into these shows. And so we were scrolling through your Insta feed and we saw a real sweet blue Tesla, and we're sort of fanboys ourselves here. So I have to ask, what's the experience like with the Tesla, man?
Yeah, did your research, man. You know what? I love it. I really do. And I had a beat up Mustang convertible. I bought it brand new in 2008.
Nice.
And I drove the heck out of that thing. And I like nice things, but I'm practical. And I couldn't just get rid of that car, right, while it was getting me from point A to point B. And it was a fun car to drive. I lived in Orlando and Vegas, both really fun places to have a convertible. But it was just, it was so beat up. And I've been transporting unicycles and juggling knives and chainsaws in the back seat. I remember I picked up my brother when he got to Vegas. And he opened the door. He's like, "Oh, are you transporting badgers in your car?" Like, what? Like the leather was just completely shredded, just ripped up to pieces. And so finally I got rear-ended last June. And I was like, yes, I can get a Tesla. Because I wanted one for so long. I was like, the next car I buy is going to be a nice adult, cool kind of car.
Adult? I like how you exclude Mustangs from that.
I was 23 or something when I was like, I got a Mustang convertible. It was a total, kind of ego buy at the time. Not like a Tesla, is it? Let's be honest. But really, sure. I was kind of waiting for that excuse. I was like, this thing has to die or I have to get rear-ended. And I got rear-ended and, obviously I didn't get seriously injured or anything. So in my head, I was kind of like, yes.
Yeah, fair enough. That was destiny there, man. Yeah.
Exactly. But impressive digging.
No, yeah. They're wild, man. They're like spaceships driving around on the road. It's the craziest thing. So
yeah, I actually just drove one for the first time in Vegas. We rented a Model 3. It was wild experience. So we thought we'd bring it up.
Nice. Yeah, that's what I have. I have the Model 3.
Nice. Yeah. So Jeff, let's talk about your background. Obviously, what an impressive history. So how did you get here today? Tell me about your upbringing, getting into the speaking MC space. Obviously, you're a headliner in Vegas. How did this all happen, I guess, is my question.
Wow. Yeah, sure. I'm reminded of a comedian old joke, It's taken me many years to get to the bottom of the middle, but I like it here. Yeah, I mean, my background's in entertainment. I've been doing little shows in my kitchen since I was 7 years old. I say I've been doing, like I'm still doing it. 38, still headlining in my kitchen. Yeah, I started doing, I was the youngest of three boys, and looking back on it now, it was clearly a bit of a cry for attention, probably to make myself stand out. Gene, John, and Jeff, the three Civilico boys, my brothers, are awesome. They're super smart, really accomplished, always been very supportive, but I think I kind of wanted my own thing. We were all pretty well-rounded. I believe, thanks to my mom and dad, they really, really encouraged us, band, choir, sports, everything, right? We did a little bit of everything growing up. I kind of wanted my own thing. I wanted something that was only mine. And I became Jeff the Juggler at 7 years old, complete with cool graphic airbrushed T-shirts that said Jeff the Juggler on them.
Nice. Wow. Very official.
I know. I was a stud. But yeah, I would do little shows in my kitchen for my grandma, and I never stopped. I always dreamed of having my own show in Las Vegas, which I think is a really powerful testament to the brand that Las Vegas has, that I can be 9-10 years old, in my kitchen being like, I got to get to Vegas, man. Like, clock's ticking, I gotta get my own show. I didn't even know what that meant. Right. But I knew that if you had your own show in Las Vegas, if you were a juggler, magician, comedian, like that, you made it. Right. So that was always kind of my goal at the time. And then 20 something years old, decided to really pursue that goal. I was in Orlando at the time doing a lot of work for the Disney Corporation. I was consulting for them, doing it on their cruise ships, helping them install shows and consult with some of their talent, producers and stage hosts and everything, as well as doing my own comedy show on some of the ships. I opened up the Disney Dream, their third ship. So I got to live on the ship for a few weeks before it opened. And then we did a few weeks of press cruises where all the press came on board and right, I got to kind of mingle and do shows for them and all that. So great time in Orlando, but I always knew that Vegas was calling at a certain point. And so I packed up my Mustang. There's the Stang callback right there. Threw my unicycles, threw the Badgers in the back seat, all my props, everything that I could fit. And I drove out to Vegas to try to get my own show. And I was fortunate enough for that to happen and started performing on the Strip, producing my own show, and also starring in my own show, which was way more work than I anticipated, because I was literally doing everything. I was setting up the show. I was promoting the show. I was doing ticket deals. I was setting up Yelp deals. I was Travelzoo, Vegas.com, Viator, Expedia. I was doing all of these deals. I was trying to partner with other shows. I was reaching out to restaurants, showing up to try to get dinner and a show deals. I was just trying to get everything going, coordinating street teams, handing out my coupons, running Google ads, Facebook ads, all this just to try to get people to the showroom, which is very challenging in Las Vegas. There is a lot of competition. And to be honest, there's a lot of competition with a lot more money. Cirque du Soleil, Penn and Teller, Donnie and Marie, Chris Angel, these massive brands that have real money behind them that can just say, okay, billboard at the airport, $40K a month. Like, sure, we'll buy 3, I have like a 4x6 square in like the senior magazine that goes to Sun City Anthem, right? Being like, you can bring your grandkids to my show. It's family friendly. I just turned into Jason Hewlett.
Yeah, impressive.
Jason.
We'll send this to him even if he's not listening right now. So don't worry.
He's just the best. He's been a big influence, a big mentor, role model for me. So there's your Jason Hewlett shout out. But anyway, your bottom line is I parlayed that Las Vegas Strip experience into the world now that I assume we're going to talk about, which is the meetings and event space and corporate hosting, speaking, entertaining. A lot of times I do a blend of all three. I'm kind of a Swiss Army knife of corporate engagement, you could say. Nice. Oh, that's pretty good. That. I might actually.
I know.
That
put
just came out. I might.
Like just put that, website material right there.
I know. Right now it says your total event solution, but I actually think your Swiss Army knife of corporate engagement. That sounds better. But really, a lot of times people don't really know what they want. They want an MC who's funny and engaging, but can also speak to their executives in an intelligent way and can tease out themes and make connections and call back to other speakers the previous day, but also can fill 5 minutes with something fun, pull some people up on stage, tie it all together. And so that's really where I found my specialty. And I really like it the most, to be honest, because when you have a show in Vegas, it's similar to when you are the banquet entertainment, let's say at a corporate event. You've got X number of people, holding their arms crossed and saying, let's see what this kid can do, right? Like, it's like the dancing bear comes out, right? Your entertainment tonight is headlined in Las Vegas, Best of Las Vegas awards, all this stuff. They're expecting you to be really good. And they're kind of, have a little sense of like, all right, let's see, prove it kind of
Prove
thing.
it. Yeah.
Whereas the MC, the bar is pretty low, to be honest. I'm just honestly, I think people expect the keynote speakers to be phenomenal, right? And they would expect the headline entertainment to be phenomenal. But you can come out as an MC and just blow the doors off, because I don't think for whatever reason, I don't think they're expecting that much. And so what I found is that if I pepper in that entertainment throughout a 2-3 day conference or an award show, I'm not introduced as someone that they're expecting to say, okay, let's see, entertain me. But by the end of 3 days, they're saying that MC was incredible. I mean, he was juggling chainsaws. He pulled up people on stage, was doing these funny skits. He bounced a 14-foot ladder on his chin. It's like he did a magic trick. It's like he could just kind of do anything. He was just fun and engaging. We liked him. And so I noticed that, and I prefer that, because I like when I see those connections, those light bulbs go off in people's head to be like, oh, this guy's going to be fun. This is going to be engaging. And you have longer to work them too, right? So you can kind of do something fun in the beginning, and then you can push it a little more. You can feel them out. You can adjust what you do in the next couple sets or in the next couple days based on what they liked and what they responded to. Some audiences are a sit and watch. Some, they want to run up on stage. Some are obviously, they want a little edgier. Some it's squeaky clean. Some they love when you rip on their competitors. I mean, make fun of their industry, that kind of thing, in a way that I can get away with because I am a third person. Right. Whereas if I was a senior vice president or something hosting this meeting, they'd be like, all right, what's the ulterior motive here? Was that political? Was he or she sending a signal? Like, oh, did you catch that? Like, whereas for me, I'm just the fun outsider who can be very objective. And that's great for comedy because it really gives me some distance and perspective that I can work to my advantage.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've been to a lot of meetings, and for sure I can see the themes that you're talking about be true in my own experience. Like a really great MC, like it raises the immersion factor, right? Like if you have a not so great MC, then like every time there's a segue between events or keynotes or whatever it may be, right? Like you kind of sit back in your chair and roll your eyes and like get on your phone or whatever. Like you're not sucked in. But a really great MC like does the same thing that you get when you're watching a really great movie, let's say, where like you're just hooked and time flies by and like everything feels very natural and organic. So it's so valuable.
Absolutely.
The thing that kind of stands out to me on this is like this entertainment label. And we've actually had a hard time working with a lot of our clients that have this entertainment label, since entertainment, like, I think for some people, it seems like it can cheapen like the experience. And that's probably more applicable for like keynoters, let's say, than an MC, because an MC does need to have that energy to tie everything together. But when we've talked to people about this, they say like, well, I would do more MCing, but MCs don't get paid enough money, let's say, or I can get more, create more value, whatever, if I'm keynoting. So I'm curious, like, has that been true for your experience? Was that a hurdle that you had to overcome, or was that just not a problem for you?
Let's talk about the money first. So while I agree that probably, of course, a phenomenal keynote speaker is going to get paid more for their one keynote than the equivalent of an MC, which would be like maybe even one day, right? There are many, many times where I'm hosting a 3-day event. There's a rehearsal day and it's in Orlando. And so there's a travel day and then I got to fly back the next day. So let's use silly numbers, right? $100. Okay. So if I say my rate is $100 a day, and I'll say it's 3 show days plus a rehearsal day plus 2 travel days, that's 5 days off the calendar. So I won't say, so my rate is 100 times 5, right? Is X times 5. But I will say, this is my daily rate. I'm happy to consider a discount for multiple days. So oftentimes they'll come back to me and say, okay, like, could you do it for 400 or something, right? They take off 10%, and like 400 is a heck of a lot more. It's 4 times more than the keynote speaker who got paid $100 for one day. Now, especially too, I always think of, I'd rather leave for a week and come home with a real chunk of bacon so that I don't have to leave for another week, right? Or I'll do 2 or 3 of those conferences in a row and I will make more than the keynote speaker who maybe had to do 5 of those or 6 of those one-off one-day events, but that's 12 travel days, right? It's like 12 days off the calendar, whereas I was gone for 4 days, 5 days. So while I agree with you that MCs tend to not get paid as much, I do think that when you go multi-day like that and you add real value, that you can take bigger chunks. That's what appeals to me, especially as an entertainer versus an MC. I can do one show and make a nice little chunk. But if I do host a 3-day event for AT&T or a big brand, I'm making a lot more than I would for that one show, right? So that's the first thing I'll say about financially with MCing. The other thing is too, this gets back to the expectation. I feel people I think would be surprised that I do get paid as much as what keynoters get paid. Many keynoters in our world get paid. Now, I think I'm working harder because I'm there for the whole day. I'm on stage 9 times or
question.
Right. I'm not going to argue about prep work and study because I know keynoters do that as well, for sure. But it's really draining. And I've had a lot of keynote speakers say, I was at the Ball Bearings Association of Arkansas or something, and they asked me to host. And I was like, sure, I'm never doing that again. That was exhausting. Like I am so drained at the end. The Ball Bearings Association of Arkansas, by the way. That's how I got.
Is that a real thing, by the way? Are you just?
I don't know. I just made
I was going to say, okay,
it sounded real.
Well, here's the thing. I ran into the Potato Manufacturers Association just the other week, and I was like, "Are you kidding me right now?" So that wouldn't surprise me.
Oh yeah, who books that? By the way, who books that? Yeah, man. The Ball Bearings. Yeah, there's 200 speakers right now Googling Ball Bearings Association of Arkansas or combing my LinkedIn. Has he tagged them? So yes. So, but my point is, if you blow the roll out of the water, then the money's there, right? Like, and that's so many times, I get to something and they're saying, make sure you thank the sponsor because he's your sponsor. Like this is the MC sponsor. They paid for you, right? So if you have a large company sponsoring the MC, that clearly means that the association said, all right, an MC is really important to this thing. And they go out and they find a sponsor for the MC. So, that's a reference to, I'm doing hosting a dental conference in later this month in Denver. And that's exactly where I'm pulling that from, right? They're like, hey, make sure that you give some love to this company because they're sponsoring you, right? So that means they're paying this pretty large fee to have me in Denver for 4 days. So anyway, I do think, again, exceed expectations, go way above and beyond, become the linchpin to the organization to say, well, I can't imagine having this event next year without Jeff. He was fantastic before, during, and after the event. He made my life so much easier. And I think keynoters have an opportunity to do that in small chunks. Like this keynote speaker was great to work with. She did her advanced work. She connected with us ahead of time. She showed up on time. All her slides were great and easy and were in the right formats. She was there at sound check. She was pleasant with the technical crew. She nailed the speech and she was just a lovely person. Great. You can definitely do that, right? But I'm on site again for 4 days, 5 days, and I'm doing all these calls and advance meetings for sometimes months in advance. So that's an opportunity to build a real connection with an event planner, with producers, with technical teams, where they say, I got to spend a lot of time with this guy. Like, I liked him. He was fun. He was nice. He was good. I want him back next year. You don't want to be stuck with somebody that you don't get along with, right? Because at the end of the day, business is just people, it's relationships. And you're going to be working a lot with an MC, a lot more than you would for a keynoter who's going to be there on site for maybe a couple hours.
Yeah. Wow. There's so much to unpack there. So the first thing I really want to highlight here is and the reason why we brought this up is because this really boils down to communication. People often who have the entertainment or MC label aren't communicating about the value they provide as eloquently as you just laid everything out. Like you say that and I'm like, I want to put on an event just so I can hire Jeff. I don't even care if I don't have an event right now. I just want, so like when you can communicate that much value and connect the dots for people, the fee becomes relative to the value you provide and how you communicate that. So
exactly.
And the other thing you pointed out was like your calendar truly is your inventory, especially when you're out there traveling. You have your travel days on the back, you have your live event, multi-day things. And when you can put things in the context of multiple days, that can help people bridge the gap of value. And then naturally, like you said, they might negotiate a little bit from what those daily rate is, but that's perfectly fine because they're only taking 10% off. So man, the way you think about this truly is a business. So I just have to congratulate that and point that out to anybody listening here who's feeling like their fees are suffering, because it just boils down to communicating.
Amen. And thank you very much for that. I did want to mention one more thing based on what Austin said. I said, we're talking about money first, then just the entertainment idea about potentially cheapening. So the first thing I always do when I get on a call with either a potential client or a client who's hired me is saying, okay, I can either be your entertainer who is emceeing your event or your MC who is very entertaining. And there is a range. And I said, I will be anywhere on this range, the spectrum that you want me to be. Just tell me, right? And then I unpack that a little bit and say, what that means is you could very overtly set me up to entertain throughout your conference. And you could do that by saying either in the pre-event materials and the voice of God and whatever, right? Having the CEO who's going to turn it over to me in the beginning, say something like, hey, we really respect your feedback. And we've heard that our conference needs to be a little more fun. You're taking time away from your families, your businesses. Yes, there's a lot to learn. There's a lot we want you to connect and network, engage, but we also want this to be a fun, positive experience for you. So we hired a guy who is fun. He's had his own show in Las Vegas for the last 10 years. He's here to keep us on time, on task, but also to add some levity and to make sure that we are all having a great time this week. So if you set me up like that, I'm going to come out and I'm going to pull people up on stage. I'm going to go nuts, right? And I would say 50% of the conferences that hire me, they want me to do that. They want me to be, we got a headliner in Vegas to MC our event. And that works really well for companies with fun culture, with great culture, like the Zappos of the world, right? Orange Theory Fitness, right? They're like an active, fun franchise group. They want to have someone who's active and fun. And a lot of companies want that, right? But then there's just as many companies who say, we don't need all that. Or the optics, we don't want you juggling bowling balls on stage. This is a really serious time for our industry, for our association, et cetera. And for those groups, I say, totally get it. I have everything backstage with me. I always travel with my show, a couple suitcases, just in case I need it. But a lot of times I won't juggle anything during event. I won't balance anything. I won't pull anybody up on stage. But I'm quick on my feet. I can make fun segues. When somebody from the executive leadership team, comes up to the stage and trips on the way up, when I come out and introduce them after, I'll trip on the way up as well. Something like that, right? Just to be like, oh, that was hilarious, right? Or that was fun. Or when I'm doing the award show, I'm keeping it fun. I'm keeping it light. I'm joking with people. I'm encouraging them to get on social media. So I'm running out into the audience and snapping selfies and right. And a lot of times they just want that. They want someone who has good energy, who's good on the mic, who they can trust to fill in a couple minutes if there's time. And again, when you talk about entertainment versus MC, it's always a range. And I always say to my clients, 100% either way or anywhere in the middle, you just tell me and we can keep it open and flow during the event. And usually what happens is clients will say, well, it's pretty serious, or, I don't know if that would be appropriate. And I say, totally understand if you need it. So then I'll do something fun, right? Like, let's say the morning session will end 5 minutes early and they want to hold everybody in the room for 5 minutes because coffee's still being set up. And the planner or producer will say, hey, can you do something to fill a few minutes? Absolutely. Right. So I go out, I do my thing. And then everybody loves it. And then the planner says, do more of that. They love that. Right. And it's like, I was trying to tell you, like, it doesn't matter if you think it's like a serious industry or a serious company, like people are people. They want to have fun. Yeah. And obviously I'm squeaky clean. I'm not going to make anyone feel embarrassed. I'm not going to put, I'm not going to do anything stupid. Right. Like I'm a professional, but I try to explain and give them a heads up that like, hey, this really works. I found this, and it always ends up coming out. There's an opportunity for me to have some fun. And the planner always says, that was awesome. Do more of that. And so I say, okay, sure, no problem. And I add more of that. And then next year they come back and from the beginning, I'm being fun and entertaining because they realize that's what their people wanted all the time.
I love that you're just setting yourself up to exceed expectations too. But I mean, it all comes back to communication again, right? Like you're just telling people, you're giving them the choice. You're saying, look, we've got options. Like I can do it whatever way you want. And like, let's be real. When you get up on stage, like you're going to be feeling the audience and like, you're going to know whether or not you should be more entertaining or not. Like it's exactly whatever plans happen beforehand don't even matter anymore. Like we're just going to do the thing that's right in the moment. But you can set people at ease by giving them your mindset about that. And like you just explaining it is probably enough is what I'm hearing from you at least. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I just think it's so important to really become a partner with them on the event. And it sounds cheesy, right? It's like everybody says, oh, like, I want to be more than your speaker. Like I want to be your partner. Right. But it's true, right? Bring me into the process earlier, and I can help make your event better because I've done a billion of these. Like I know there's certain things. It doesn't matter what your company is. It doesn't matter what your industry is. It's about flow. It's about run of show. It's about engagement, energy levels, all of that. Here's a real life example. I'm on a call with a conference, shall remain nameless, and they're sharing the run of show with me. And this always happens. They want me to come out and do all the housekeeping. That's the most boring way to start a 3-day conference ever, right? Make sure you download the app. Lunch is going to be served on the terrace. Like it's 8 a.m. right? And I'm being introduced. So again, you have to very tactfully, I always say something like, I'd love to offer some thoughts and feedback on this run of show. I have some ideas to how we can potentially, switch a couple things up. Not going to do anything big. We're still going to get everything in there, but it's just about the time. And after I suggest what I suggest, they always say, "Oh, wow. Like, yes, that was great." Right. So I'll say to them, let me come out and there should be an immediate shift in the energy in the room. Right. When I get introduced, the first thing I'm going to do is something fun, right? Catch them off guard. Make them sit up in their chairs a little more. I'm not going to tell them to, use get social and do this and the breakout rooms in the afternoon. Nobody cares about the afternoon. It's 8 a.m., right? Like I'm going to be on stage 6 more times before they go to breakouts. So why inundate them with all that stuff? So I will say something like, right, hey, I get introduced, maybe come from the audience, come on stage in a big fun way. And I'll say something like, hey, we've all been juggling so much these days, right? The last 15 months have been insane for all of us. We're working from home, online learning, social distancing. And I'll segue into a fun juggling thing where I pull somebody up on stage. They're laughing. They're like, oh, this is going to be a fun conference, right? Then there's kind of a moment where we take a breath. And I say, hey, how awesome is it that we're all together again here in this ballroom, right? So I think we're all just so happy to be here together. It's going to be a great 3 days. Maybe I mentioned a couple high-level items. We wouldn't be here without our sponsors. Show the sponsors, applause. So let's get into it. Boom, your first speaker, and then we're off, right? Then the next time I come out, I'll do social media and I'll make it a bit, right? I'll do a big selfie stick with a big selfie and I'll say, hey, you're about to take a break. We want you to connect with each other, right? There's 1,500 people here. There's no way you could possibly meet everybody. So we set up a way for you to connect with people. It's the app. Download the app. Blah, 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 right? Yep. I'm going to post this picture. Go like it, share it, use the hashtag, yada, yada, yada. We'll see you back here in 5 minutes. Like that's its own thing where it was going to be lost in the beginning. It's just one more like bullet point of like an MC reading off the paper, right? So again, I try to just space things out, right? Make each one of those fun and a moment so that you're not inundating with people with information because they're not listening anyway at that point, right? Get their attention and then they'll listen to you because they like you and they want to hear from you. Anyway, you're getting me on my horse now.
Hey, this is perfect because honestly, we're at the end of every episode, we like to ask a really practical question, which was more or less along the lines of how can we more deeply engage with our audience for those who are wondering. And you just read our minds and just gave us all of those answers. So thank you, Jeff, for participating today. Thank you for coming on the show and providing so much value. I'm curious, I'm sure people are going to want to follow along for the journey, stay in touch. What are the best ways people can get in touch with you?
Yeah, well, I am here in Las Vegas, the meetings capital of the world. And so I will say, first and foremost, in person, hit me up, reach out to me. If I'm not in Orlando, I'm probably here. So I've met many speakers for coffee, for drinks. They're coming in on the strip for events. So you can always feel free to reach out to me. Social media, of course, I'm at Jeff Civilico on everything, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook as well. So hit me up online, hit me up when you come to town, and maybe I'll see you backstage at some convention center somewhere around the world.
Heck yeah. Well, I will put those links in the show notes. Jeff, thanks again for coming on. It has been a blast having you. And hey, if you like this episode, don't forget to rate it, like it, subscribe to it. And if you want more awesome resources like this, go to speakerflow.com/resources. Thank you so much for chiming in. I just wanted to take a second to thank our sponsor, Auxbus. Auxbus is the all-in-one suite of tools you need to run your podcast. And it's actually what we run here at SpeakerFlow for Technically Speaking. It makes planning podcasts simple. It makes recording podcasts simple. It even makes publishing podcasts to the masses simple. And quite honestly, Technically Speaking wouldn't be up as soon as it is without Auxbus. Thank you so much, Auxbus. And if you are interested in checking Auxbus out, whether you're starting a podcast or you have one currently, get our special offer, auxbus.com/speakerflow, or click the link below in our show notes.
Thanks for tuning in today. Check the show notes for more info and see you next time. Later.